Before we get going tonight, I want to let you know that if you head over to podchaser.com and enter promo code SpoilerCountry with no space, just all together Spoiler Country, you can get full access to the social feeds on that site for reviewing and rating podcasts. So head over there and enter Spoiler Country and sign up and add it to your account if you already have an account. And be sure to rate and review Spoiler Country there. And also, this only works for the first 50 people who sign up, so get there quick.
Live from a fallout shelter somewhere under Seattle, Washington, it's the show you've been waiting for. Get ready to join your hosts, John and Kenric, as they talk comics, movies, and more. Now here's Spoiler Country!
Alright, welcome back to Spoiler Country. I'm Kenric, and that right there is Mr. Horsley. And today, well, it's another interview with our man on the street, Casey Allen. And he had the privilege of talking to Claudio Ghirardo about his ongoing series, Amsterdam State of Mind.
Yeah, it's a series he's doing through Patreon, and some of you key listeners might remember him. That we had him on for a Kickstarter signal boost a long time ago. I think on like episode 4, talking about the art exhibit in Canada he was doing, where he had an Indiegogo. He was the first person we had on that wasn't an actual comic book. There was a comic art series of displaying comic art at an art gallery in Canada.
Oh, I remember that. So, yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, Casey here. Sorry to interrupt this awesome introduction by John and Kenric. I just wanted to let you guys know that in the time since we've recorded this, not only has Claudio continued with his amazing and Amsterdam State of Mind comic on his Patreon, but he's also been included on a really great book, What Fresh Hell Is This? 9 Levels of Studio Hell. It's an anthology by Enrica Jang, and it's in the Kickstarter phase right now. $25 gets you the book in its physical form. $12 gets you the digital copy. Go out and support this book. What Fresh Hell Is This? 9 Levels of Studio Hell. It looks like a really great book. A lot of really talented indie creators on the book. Get in on it while it's hot. Don't miss out on it. Again, What Fresh Hell Is This? 9 Levels of Studio Hell. As of the 19th, there are 12 days to go. So as of the 19th of September, you have 12 days. Don't miss out. All right, let's do the interview.
Yeah, same guy. This is for one of his new comic series he's doing, or a comic book he's doing through Patreon. And Casey got a chance to sit down and chat with him about it, and he's a really cool guy. He's worked with Casey on some stuff through the Comic Jam. That's how Casey knows him. That's how I met him too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's a writer and artist and does some cool stuff.
So let's check it out.
All right, today on the Webcomics Roundup, we're going to talk to the artist and storyteller, Claudio Ghirardo, and he's right here thanks to the power of the internet. He is talking to me in beautiful sunny Canada. At my home in Alabama. So, Claudio, how you doing, man?
Not bad. Thank you very much Casey.
It's great to have you on, man.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And it's finally nice to actually hear your voice.
I agree.
Especially because all we do is just keep typing back to each other.
So, Claudio, you have a comic called Painted Comic, and you work with a lot of autobiographical stuff. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your process here.
Okay, well, if it's okay with you, let me just go back, if I can, to when because I'm a graduate of the Joe Kubert School of Cartoon and Graphic Art. And while I was at the Kubert School, it was one of the best times of my life, but because it was in New Jersey, I had a chance to go to New York as well. And what got to me, spending time in the Kubert School and also traveling to New York and going to the various museums, it kind of made me realize that comics are more of an art form, and that's the way I see it. So I see it, the medium, as something that you could play with and you experiment with. So my focus really when I do my comics is actually, and this is going to sound weird, I don't focus on the story first and then the art. I tend to focus on the art first and then the story. So one of the things I got the interest of is what would happen if you took a story, a comic, and instead of keeping the style the same, you would change the style from panel to panel. How would you then read it? And I got part of the idea from a Chinese artist who says that there's a Chinese saying that you read a drawing. And since comics are, a sequence where you read it, it kind of made me wonder, do we actually look at a comic or do we read a comic? So my focus was to experiment by changes the style. And so I said to myself, okay, I need obviously a story to go with the style that I'm thinking about or this process. So the idea that I got is to do autobiographical stuff when I was reading some Harvey Pekar and some of the alternative comics. And I figured this is perfect, So I said, this is perfect. Let me take a story that happened with me or something that happened to somebody and then use and play with the images side by side with each other. So that's sorry for a long explanation, but that's the best way I can explain it.
No. That's awesome. I like hearing it. And you really have an amazing style and it's very playful style. And it seems like you really enjoy being experimental and trying new things and going in a different direction. And I really have always enjoyed that about your artwork and about your storytelling.
Thank you.
So what got you into comics in the first place? What was the thing that said, oh, this is what I want to do?
Okay, you're going to laugh at this. Because I come from an Italian immigrant family, I was taught at a very young age that you have to make a living. Okay? So at the age of 6, the first thing I said to myself is, well, if I have to make a living for the rest of my life, what am I going to do? So, of course, I was buying comics. Like every other kid, I was really into comics and I really loved drawing. And when somebody said to me, somebody makes these things, which of course is kind of weird, I didn't think about it. Like, that's it. That's what I want to do with my life. I want to draw comics for a living. So that's when I started really focusing on improving my drawing skills and getting as good as I could.
That's awesome.
So that's the best way. Yeah, that's the best way I can explain it. I think what changed my mind, like I said, was my whole focus was to actually do superhero comics and get a job in it. But it wasn't until the time when I went to the Kubert School and I met a bunch of other students. And then, of course, while I was there, that's when also you're around some of the underground stuff as well. And then I got into European comics as well. Somebody would show me some European comics. So that kind of changed my mind a bit. Like I want to do comics, but it changed my the way I saw comics. And like I said before, I started seeing it more as an art form. I think one of the things that really changed me was when I was reading a Watchmen by Alan Moore, and the other one was Mouse by Art Spiegelman. And that kind of just shifted my outlook. So then I started gradually focusing more on that as a result of it and just say to myself, you know what? I really want to experiment with this. I really want to see what I can do with this. And I guess that's the best way I can explain. Yeah.
Oh, you've been doing these autobiographical comics for a while, and just really, it's I love seeing that. Even though you have all this experience under your belt doing these things, you're still pushing your style, you're still experimenting, you're still trying new things. What keeps you inspired? Keep doing this.
Well, I think the easiest explanation is I love comics. And like I said, because I shift my viewpoint of seeing comics as an art form, what keeps me going is what else can I do with this? What more can I do with this? What am I not doing with this? So I think there was an article I read on Moebius one time. In case you hadn't noticed, I tend to do a lot of reading as well. I read things about comics and artwork all the time. I watch documentaries. Sometimes I think I'm a weirdo, but anyways. Moebius once said that being an artist, okay, it's almost like you're climbing a mountain, okay? And when you get to the top of the mountain, you look around and you notice you're back at the base of another mountain. And then you make a choice. Do you stay where you are or do you climb again? And I guess in my case, I decided to keep on climbing. So, where it leads me, I have no idea, but it's fun. It's enjoyable. It gives me that willingness to see what else I can do with it. It's almost like, I guess I'm somebody who, the one thing a lot of fans have said about me, which is interesting, is they say I'm not very nostalgic. And it's true, I'm not. Even though I appreciate my past, I'm always looking to see what else is available, what else is out there, what's the next thing. And I think that's the reason why that's what keeps me going with the comics, because to me, I love comics. I do see it as an art form, and there's still so much that can be done with it. So, and that's the approach I take.
That's awesome. And to be frank, you were talking about how you're not very sentimental about your stuff, and I honestly think a lot of you artists are sadists, because you guys do it. It's like seeing somebody go to the gym and just constantly honing those muscles, trying to define those muscle sets. And I mean, don't take it lightly. It's not, oh, this is just something I do when I'm bored. You guys go after it hard, and it's really inspiring, especially for somebody with zero artistic talent like myself. Seeing somebody just constantly at it, it makes me want to improve at what I do.
Well, that's great.
So that's especially inspiring. Going like, hey, I might have some stuff to improve as a writer, but I see you guys going after it every day, pushing, even though like what I see is, oh, this looks amazing. This is awesome. You guys are looking at it going, nope, not good enough. I'm still going to work harder. I'm still going to push this. And that is a never ending well of inspiration. So
I'm glad to hear.
Speaking of being inspired. Oh, no, you're good, man. Speaking of being inspired, your new graphic novel, An Amsterdam State of Mind, up on your Patreon, that was based on a trip you did. Can you talk about it a little bit?
Sure. Well, I'm married, and my wife is actually of Dutch background. And during the March break, we were trying to figure out what to do with the kids, especially. So my father-in-law comes to visit us. The unfortunate part is my mother-in-law, his wife, is in a nursing home right now. She suffered a major stroke, so she's now in a nursing home. So he's alone by himself most of the times. So we were talking what to do, where to go, and we got around to talking about Amsterdam. And my father-in-law was basically saying, he wouldn't mind going back to the village where he actually was born in and spent most of his childhood in before he came himself over to Canada. So we said, let's do it. Let's just go for it. So, we made the arrangements, the trip, and I said to myself, if I'm going to be here for a week, I wonder if I could make a comic out of this. So what I did is during that time is I just kept notes and I just kept writing down things that were happening. But one of the things that's interesting what I was finding as I was writing is I tend not so much to write about like a story. I tend to write about my experiences, how I'm feeling, what I'm going through, what I'm experiencing, what I'm seeing. And so when I came back to Canada, I was going through my notes and I said, I could probably make a comic out of this, but how do I make it? So I decided to take it as my own situation, questioning my life choices and how being in Amsterdam, being in a different area, but also going to all the museums. And as I mentioned, I actually had a chance to go to Lambiek. Lambiek is supposedly the oldest comic book shop in the world. It was actually founded in 1964. So
That's awesome.
I think that could be a story. Yeah, it was amazing to be there, and I met the guy who's in charge of it now. He's actually the third guy to run it, and it was just I said to myself, this I could make a story out of this. So the story basically is about a middle-aged illustrator who goes to Amsterdam, questioning his life choices. And through the art, he actually comes to terms with his life and his choices. And he comes back like that. And so that was basically how it all came about.
That's awesome. And just from what I understand, you were talking about the shop over there. Mm-hmm. They really have a different. Their comic shops are a lot different than American and I would assume Canadian shops, right?
Oh yeah,
is it?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because what I've noticed about the Europeans have one interesting fact: they're not into superheroes at all. No focus on superheroes. There's science fiction, there's fantasy, adventure. There's also some slice of life, but no superheroes. They're just not into it for some reason. And I think I always kind of wonder if it has to do with the history of the art that makes them look at it differently. Whereas maybe in North America, superheroes were seen more as like a fantasy fulfillment or a kind of something you wish for. Whereas in Europe, it's more like you like to go on an adventure, and so then you build a story around that. And then the artwork, of course, because you have the classical outlook of art, the classical, from Italy, Spain, also, Holland. I kind of wonder if that's how kind of it kind of went in that kind of direction, and that's the only thing I think of.
That's awesome. It seems like you really kind of took a lot of inspiration from that trip, and hell, you got a whole book out of it.
yeah, it was interesting. But I think, how can I put this? There's two things I learned about being an artist. The first thing is being an artist it's not something you can try and do or try and be. It's something you have to accept. You will have to accept that this is who you are and this is how you are. You have to accept that that's you. I mean, even if you have a day job, if there's a part of you where there's writing, drawing, painting, anything, you have to come to terms that this is you. This is how you work. This is how you interact in the world. And that was one of the things I had to struggle with at one point. Even though I went to the Cuba school, I spent that time struggling the years later, trying to come to terms with that. So that's the first thing. when you're willing to accept that that is you and how you work, then that's the next part, is you have to figure out how you work. Like, in other words, are you doing, and I'm going to use comics as an example, is your focus on comics because you really want to tell the story a certain way, or do you want to do something with the artwork, or do you want to experiment with it? Like, you have to kind of go through that time, that part of yourself. And then when you do accept it, you have to realize your viewpoint of the world is going to be different than most people's. And I guess that's the best way I can explain it.
And I'm understanding this more and more. There are some people in the world that don't have an ounce of passion towards things that they do, like people who do storytelling, people that do comics, people that do. It is a certain type of people that have that drive, that inherent drive to create, that if that's what you have in you, you can't not do it.
Okay.
It's
yeah, I know it. Well, see, what you're doing right now is struggling with it, and that's normal, because you have to struggle with it. That's the only way you can really come to terms with it. I mean, like, I struggled with it for a long time, and I got lucky because when I met my wife, she wasn't crazy about me being an artist. But as time went on, she realized this is who I am. So she said, "You know what? Let's work with that." And it's not easy. It's a freaking hard thing to do. The one book that I read, it's not a comic, okay, but this is a book that helped me out. It's a book called My Name is Asher Lev. And it's actually the story about an Orthodox Jew who has the ability to paint. And he has this interest. And it's interesting because the idea is that the Orthodox Jews don't believe in creating art based on some of their belief systems. So this character has to struggle with this idea, and then he does learn how to be an artist, but he doesn't learn how to draw and paint just so he can do nice artwork. He actually learns how to be an artist. And there's this one aspect at the end of the story which really got to me. It just hit me so hard, where he's praying to God, and he says, "Am I always going to live like this? Am I always going to be a Jewish and an artist?" And he comes to saying, "Yeah, I am. I'm going to have to struggle with it the rest of my life. I'm going to have to live in this duality." And I said to myself, "That's me. That's the struggle I go through." And that's when I guess I kind of slowly came to the acceptance of that. For everybody's different. That's how it worked for me. So, sorry to interrupt you, but
no. I love it when you are ready to talk, and also, I mean, that's such an awesome thing to learn is to how to be an artist, how to be a creative, and to deal with of that. So
yeah, well, yeah. So yeah. Anyways,
you in addition to making comics, you're also a dad. You have. I am too. My 4-year-old has already been on one of these recordings in the background. The only reason she's not today is because I'm in a different room away from her. But
okay.
How do you fit that in with your responsibilities as a parent?
Let me put it this way: it's not easy. That's really the base. Part of it was, again, a decision my wife and I made. If I was going to do this, then part of a home father. So it really became more of almost like a juggling act. Like, how do I do this? So one of the decisions was, when my wife was at home, especially when my kids were much younger, she would be in charge of the kids, and that would give me the time to create. As my kids are getting older, because now my kids are much older now, my daughter is 11, my son is 16. That gave me some of the freedom now to just be able to push my work a little bit more. And I guess, and so that's been the hard part, is really having to learn how to juggle all that. And you just gotta somehow find the time. But see, that's also how to know whether that you're serious. If you're willing to find, sorry, go ahead.
No. Yeah, I was saying exactly.
Yeah, if you're that, you find the time somehow. You just try to work it in some way. Whether it's taking your kids to the park, and as they're playing, you're there drawing and sketching or something, or they go to bed and you go to your studio and start working. So you just figure out a way.
Well, my thing is, as soon as everybody goes to bed, that's my time. Yep. Please leave me alone when that happens. Just let me do my writing. Here's your milk. Go to bed.
Yeah.
Here's your tuck in. Go to bed. Yep. Daddy's doing his work.
But the thing is, you could also use your kids, and I found, as a way to drive you, because you say to yourself, what kind of life do I want to have then? And I'm the role model. If I wanted to have an authentic life, I have to be authentic. If I wanted to pursue something that they enjoy, I got to pursue it. So you, in effect, even if your kids don't go into the art, because my son, like for instance, my son is more interested in science, but I have to be that role model for him to say, if you're serious about it, you got to do it. So he has to see that in me. Okay? And that kind of makes sense. And one of the things I've always told my kids it's very important is to be very creative. Don't hold you back your creativity. Use it in any area you're in. So
that's awesome. Yeah, and you're teaching them, by your actions, how to commit and how to just stay firm and resolute in your drive to this thing that you're wanting to create. And as for my own kids, my oldest, I think, is the creative one. My youngest one is the one that's I don't know. We started her on soccer, and she's already tackling the other kids on the field. So I don't know what she's gonna do. She's either going to be like the head of a Fortune 500 company, or I don't know, maybe on the news in some capacity. But my oldest, she is the artist. She's the quiet, shy artist, and I remember having a discussion with her one day about she had gotten really frustrated over something she was trying to make.
Mm-hmm.
And over the fact that she didn't have the ability yet to do it on her own. It was something like a skill that she didn't have yet. She hadn't developed the skill, so she couldn't do the project she wanted to make.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, it's going to break your heart a few times, but you keep at it because that's the only thing that you want to do, because you have a creative heart. That's if you don't keep at it, it'll just make you even more upset. So
my answer to that, usually, especially with my kids as well, is how can I put this? Even if you don't have the skill to get to that point yet, the important part is not the end result. It's the process you go through. And as you go through the process, that's what strengthens you. And you can apply it in other areas. Like I said, my son is more into science, but he can apply that creativity and that drive to the science. So it can be used in more than one area. I mean, my daughter's more the creative one. She enjoys drawing and painting a lot more. But I don't focus on her to learn how to draw properly. What I focus on her is like, come up with something unique with this character. What can you do that's something different with this character? And then that starts it going. Because to me, the most exceptional artists in the world out there were not the ones who were the best artists that drew the best. They were the ones who really learned the craft, but then they came up with something interesting with it. I think that's the best way. Like, if you name an artist, like let's say Moebius, yeah, he could draw really well, but I think what was interesting is he took the skill and he came up with something unique and different with it, and that's what really made it stand out. That's what made him Moebius. I'm not sure, So, that's the way I explain it. Not sure if that makes sense, but
oh no, it totally makes sense. So we're almost done with the interview, and I before I let you go, I just want to make sure that everyone knows where to get your comic and how to see your work, because it really is fantastic.
And thank you. Okay, so there's now just to let you know, my webcomic, Painted Comics at wordpress.com. It's still uploaded. I am not adding anything new to it right now. I'm focusing more on my Patreon page. So the only problem with the Patreon is because in the Patreon, a couple of stories has 1 or 2 nudes. It's considered over 18. So if you type it in, you don't see them, which is really irritating. But if you go to my paintedcomics.wordpress.com, you will find a link to the Patreon. So if you click on that, if you give me like $2 a month, you have access to the graphic novel, and I keep posting as long as I got it. The other thing I have is a new website called Ko-fi, Ko-fi, where every once in a while you can just you basically, it's like you pay me for coffee. You put out $3, and that helps me out right there. I'm on Instagram, and you can see a lot of my artwork on Instagram. C Ghirardo, Ghirardo. If you want to have a copy of my artwork, writtensins.com. I've done a couple of comics for him. One's called And They Call Me Monsters, and the other one is called A Monster of a Betrayal, issue number 2, which is basically the writer, Rob Anderson, is a story about these guys who have afflictions, and people see them as monsters, so they're considered like the monsters of the old. Like, for instance, Drac has a blood condition where he needs transfusions on a regular basis. And it's a bit of like Scooby-Doo almost. So there's that. I've worked on an anthology for Red Steel Media, the 27 Club. I did a story in there called Life is Like a Painting. And that anthology actually got in 2016, got a Harvey Award nomination.
It's amazing.
So if you look for that, my comics in there. I didn't know, you don't know this. I'm now working with TJ Troy, and I'm doing a 5-page comic where we're exploring dementia.
Oh, that's awesome.
TJ is going to be publishing that. I don't know when, and that's going to be, he'll be, sure to publish. Go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just about to say, and to people that might not know, TJ Troy is a writer, a Grammy Award winning musician, and he's done stuff with the Comic Jam, but he also wrote an amazing story that's going to be illustrated by Rick Bugbee. and that will
Okay.
be in the second volume of the EYNES anthology, which
Oh wow.
I've helped to co-edit. And oh my gosh, TJ is a fantastic writer. So
Oh yeah.
if you like,
Yeah, and actually, this story I worked with TJ, we're actually using the Marvel method. So he just
Oh,
gave me a
wow.
synopsis, and I'm just, I've already did the first set. We had to make some changes to it, so I'm going to show it the pencils when I get done. And yeah, and then I'm also hoping to do something for Red Steeler's next anthology, which is To Hell and Back, which is actually inspired by Dante's Inferno.
I saw that, and honestly, I read about it, and I was looking at the stipulations for it, and I said, "Oh gosh, I'm too dumb to do that." I've read the Divine Comedy, and there were so many footnotes that it was I got lost, and I came out, but I don't know if I retained much other than don't go to hell because you're in love with some chick. I mean, there are plenty of fish in the sea, and Dante should have tried Plenty of Fish or Tinder.
Yeah, well, that's where you get a lot of times. That's where you get your ideas from. Is just what's going on in your life. So that's just the way it works.
Well, Claudio, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for talking to everybody about Painted Comic and about your Amsterdam comic. And again, I appreciate having you on, man. It's good to finally hear your voice.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I really appreciate the time and the support. Anytime I get a support for the work I do, because my work does tend to be quite unusual, I appreciate it. So.
Well, it's amazing work, and I'm so happy to be able to get it out to people. So, oh gosh,
No,
hey, baby.
Okay, you know what? I gotta get going myself because I gotta pick my wife from work. So,
all right, take it easy, man. And again, thanks for talking to us.
Not a problem. Thank you very much, and take care, and all the best with everything. And may I say, Casey, I think you got something going for yourself, because not only you're a really good writer, like I loved illustrating that one story about sharks in space. That was a great story to illustrate. I loved illustrating that story. That was so much fun. But you also got also being an editor. I think there's something in you, man. I hope you just keep it going, keep it building it.
Thank you so much, and every time I've been able to work with you has been a pleasure, and it's just been a joy. So, thank you for that. And Claudio, take it easy, man. And I can't wait. I can't wait to work with you again. Okay.
Definitely. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, take care.
Take care. Be safe. Picking up your wife, and I will talk to you soon, man.
Okay. And how fun with the kids? I think they're with daddy right now.
Oh yeah, yeah. She. I think she's itching to go outside or something. I'll let you go, man. Take it easy, brother.
You too. Take care. Bye.
I don't know why I say yeah. Yeah, sure, let's do it.
Yeah. We're just excited. You're happy to be there.
I'm happy to be here. Happy to be anywhere.
All right. Well, welcome back.
Welcome back, Kenric. I'm so glad you came. I'm so glad you can make it.
I did. I made it.
Yay!
So,
more importantly, Casey talked to Claudio about the book.
Yeah, and I hope everybody enjoyed that. That was really cool. It sounds really interesting.
You know why I like Casey doing these for us? Besides the fact that it's less work for us overall. That sounds horrible to say, but you know what? Do you know why else I like it?
What is that?
Because as you mentioned before, Casey asked questions we just wouldn't ask.
Yeah, this is true.
He does it in a way we wouldn't do it.
Yeah, he's got a unique
nice.
style.
Yeah, and I like that about him.
Mm-hmm.
So good job, Casey. Keep it up.
Well, there you guys go. We hope you enjoyed listening to Claudio Ghirardo's Amsterdam State of Mind. And if you like what you heard, we'll have it in the show notes. You can go to his Patreon, and you can, for lack of a better term, back Amsterdam State of Mind through his Patreon.
Yeah, you can support him, support what he does. And you know what? Speaking of Patreon, if you want to support what we do, we have one of those too. that we never talk about.
Yeah. Great segue there, Johnny.
Hey, it fit Patreon to Patreon. It works.
I apologize,
right?
Claudio. You are everything what this show should be. Go check out Claudio's Patreon.
Not ours. Fuck ours. Don't give us any money. Give it all to him.
But our link will be in the show notes as well.
I say that, but I mean it. Go support the comic book. And we're just a podcast.
Yeah.
We don't do much besides talk to people.
Yeah, yeah. But it sounds really cool. He's a very unique individual that's done a lot of cool stuff in and around comic books and around pop art and actually moving that culture forward, which is always really cool to meet those kind of people that are doing it on the forefront and doing it on his own. So
exactly,
we applaud you, Claudio. Please go check out his stuff. And if you don't have the ability to be a Patreon, maybe share it out and somebody else might like what they see and they subscribe.
Yeah, exactly. Or just share this episode out and they hear it. They can make their own decision based on what he says too.
Yeah, that's even better.
Yeah,
actually,
I like
give
that
them
option.
both.
Share the episode.
Yeah,
do both. Yeah, do them all.
Yeah, do them all.
Do them all.
Well, there you guys go. We hope you enjoyed what you heard. And we're Spoiler Country. We're, of course, heard everywhere podcasts are heard. And we're like almost on all the social medias or pretty close to it. We're on the big three.
Yeah, one of the big four.
The big four. So there's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and what's the fourth one? Snapchat?
No, we're not on a Snapchat. Tumblr? I don't know. Pinterest?
Okay.
Sure.
Somewhere around there. But if you're on one and you want to see us on there, give us a shout out and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah. And if you want to call, leave a voicemail. You can call 707-656-2080. Leave a voicemail. You can email us at spoilercountry@gmail.com. You can check out our website, scpod.net, to see reviews by David, articles by Jay, episodes and more stuff from us and other people. Just again, go to scpod.net and you'll find all that cool stuff there.
Yeah, there you guys go. Hope you enjoy. Don't forget, open the mind.
Read more.
Here we go. Yep, there we go.
Okay.
So, yeah, sorry, that was a big to-do to get all that stuff together. I'm sorry about that. So
okay, don't worry about it.
Before we get started, like for real,
Hello?
is there anything? Yeah. Is there anything in particular that you would like to talk about and hit on like right away?
Well, Not really at this point. I just nothing comes to mind. To be honest with you, I'm like, okay, what do I say? And I'm like, I don't know. I work better when somebody asks me questions, and I can work from there.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I'm just gonna kind of read off a little bit about you, and kind of tell people a little bit about you. And you went to the Kubert School, right?
That's right.
Awesome. Okay, and so I'll just start there. All right. Today on the show, we are going to talk to. Let me start over. How do you pronounce your last name correctly so I don't sound like a jackass?
I'll do it. Ghirardo.
Okay, I'll definitely sound like a jackass trying to say it like that.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Ghirardo.
Hey, you got it. So it's Ghirardo. If you want, the first name is Claudio, but I usually do Ghirardo because in the past, whenever somebody says, "What's your name?" I'll go Claudio Ghirardo, and I go, "Huh?"
Where is that from? Where's that name from? Is
Italian?
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, you're good, man. Is your family originally from Italy?
Yeah, actually, both my parents were immigrants from Italy. They moved here. Well, my father moved here first. Then he went back to Italy. Met my mother. Got back in touch with my mother. Got married. Brought her over here, and I was born. And then we moved back to Italy when I was 6 years old. Came back here when I was 9, and then did some traveling on my own. So actually, I'm the only one in my family that's actually Canadian born.
Well, I'm definitely going to hit up on that. Okay, so
okay.
I'm going to go ahead and start it up now, and